I was concerned about the pregnancy, everything that was going on, my own mental health. When I had my daughter Sophia, they think that I may have had postnatal afterwards. It turns out it was all to do with my anxiety and the medication I was on. But at the time I had my mum, and my mum was my best friend. I was always with my mum. My mum was at the birth. She was my everything. But sadly, she passed away 3 years ago. So I was struggling, even though I got over the fact of her going, I've sort of come to terms with it. But it was a new adventure that she wasn't going to be there for. So Debbie's not replaced my mum in any way. And I think anyone would understand that. But to me, it was like having somebody else that I could go to, that would support me, would listen to me. My husband was very, very poorly, as Debbie knows, at the beginning of the year. He almost died. So again, I was heavily pregnant. I've got no family or anything really around me. Not that I could say I could talk to or would understand what was going on physically or mentally or anything like that. Yes, I was quite concerned. I didn't want it to affect my little girl. Definitely didn't want it to affect this baby. And I didn't want to go back to that dark place that I was previously. It was easier because I'd met her, even though I'd only met Debbie once. I knew who she was. I knew I felt comfortable around her when she came and visited. I knew she put me at ease. She was very calming, had a very nice influence. So I knew as soon as we started talking on the phone, I knew who I was talking to. So that helped. As soon as I met Debbie, just the way that she was dressed, the way that she presented herself, was all very calming. It was like we knew each other before. It wasn't as though she was coming in and she was going to judge me or anything like that. It was as though she was like a long lost friend.
I think meeting a mum face to face is important because you can gain their facial expressions. You can, if you're going to hit it off, you can read their body language, like Beck said. I mean, one of my ladies I didn't meet face to face, and I was at her birth, and that was really hard, just walking into the labour room. Oh, you're Debbie and you're whoever, and that's the first time we'd met, which was really hard. We've had phone calls and things, but I think you need that face to face just to break down that barrier of who am I talking to and knowing what people look like, because you're building a photo of somebody in your mind, and then when you do meet them, they're nothing like that. So I think the face to face, and I still miss the face to face.
See, like the other person's facial expressions, they're listening to you, and that they're understanding. They're not just on the end of the phone or behind a screen going, yeah. They're not reading a script or following an act or anything like that. It is all natural because you see their own natural emotions at the same time.
I think as well, what you miss from the face to face visits, if someone is feeling low and they're on the phone, you don't pick it up as well as actually seeing them and just being able to give someone a hug.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially through like COVID and stuff. I think being able to have a hug or anything like that, I think Debbie was very clever and picked up quite early that I'm very good at hiding things and painting the picture that everything's okay. But Debbie sort of picked up on that straight away, so that was really nice. She's got time. She's got time and she's got empathy. And she's not trying to rush you out the door or get you off the phone. She's just someone there for you that if I'm having a bad day, I can pick up the phone and I can ring. I haven't got to ring and wait for an appointment or be judged or go to the doctors and not actually know who I'm going to be seeing. it's nice to have somebody there. Debbie was very good at knowing when I needed her. So she would ring me a couple of times a week or drop me your text message just to make sure that I was okay. Even though I was saying I was okay, I knew I wasn't, and Debbie knew I wasn't, but I wasn't going to let anybody else know. Some weeks I'll be like, I'm okay, so we don't really talk. And other weeks we could be on the phone for ages, and I think Debbie's on the other end thinking, oh my God, shut up, get off now.
No, I'm not.
That's how I feel sometimes. I get off the phone and I think, oh, that poor lady. Poor Debbie. Oh, I bet she needs a nice gin and tonic by now, because all I've done is go on.
But if it's made a difference to you?
Big time. Big time. Especially with the whole lockdown scenario as well. I think I wouldn't know whether, I think you probably can see a difference or hear a difference to how I was when I first had Ethan.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
When I first had Ethan, there was no talking to me. It was, everything was ending. I wasn't in a great place. But Debbie was there for all of that. She listened, she didn't judge. It was a case of, right, we'll just take one step at a time, we'll take one day at a time, which is what we did. One of my big concerns was that I wasn't going to bond or anything like that. We did, the last couple of weeks of pregnancy was quite difficult. Then his birth was very difficult. I had an emergency C-section because we had a prolapse cord. So obviously I was in hospital by myself. Mike got called up to the hospital once I was on the labour ward. He was there for about an hour before they sort of said, right, okay, on the bed, how it goes, prolapse cord, nurse on the bed with me, head in the pillow, off you go. I was rushing to theatre by myself again. When we came out, Mike was in the resuscitation room waiting for us. He was only there for 40 minutes, and then we didn't see him for 4 days. So that was really, really hard. I don't like being away from home. So being in hospital for one night, let alone 4 nights, was really hard going, really hard going. By the 4th day, it had got to the point where I wasn't eating. I was struggling to drink. I didn't want to pick him up. Not because I didn't love him or I didn't have that bond. I didn't want him to feel how anxious I was. So that was very, very hard. My anxiety, it really does affect my eating. And I used to suffer, you wouldn't look at me now, I look like a blob. But I used to suffer really badly with anorexia when I was younger, and I didn't want to go back there. So as soon as my anxiety gets bad and I stop eating, I then go into panic, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to go back there. I don't want to go back there. Debbie knew that I was struggling. I didn't want to be near him too much because I didn't want him to know how anxious I was, how scared I was. But I think we do all right, little man, don't we? First of all, thank you. Just for being there. I think without Debbie or having the support that I've had, I hate to say it, but I don't think I'd be here. I was in quite a dark place, even though it was only for a couple of weeks. I was very good at hiding my emotions. I was very good at getting on with things, putting my mask on in the morning and putting the act on and being the brave wife that gets on with everything. But Debbie knew that weren't right. So yeah, I don't think without having Debbie there, I don't think I would have, especially with lockdown and COVID and everything else, I don't think I would have coped or come as far as what I have now. Debbie was my lifeline at the end of the day.
just think it's great, just making a difference to your life, really.